Kevin Vaughn, thank you for the super chat. Looks like question is down here. How do you get vitamin C on a carnivore diet? From meat, just like everything else. So there is vitamin C in meat. It's not much, but you don't need much. And but there is actually a decent amount of vitamin C in liver. And so you actually get more, there's more vitamin C per gram of liver than there are in apples, for instance. And so, it's not everybody realizes that. But you don't even need that, because you need far less vitamin C than you would if you were eating a mixed diet. Depending on what you're eating, you need a different constellation of vitamins and minerals. And so vitamin C is a very good example of that. If you're eating carbohydrates, it actually blocks out the absorption of vitamin C in your gut. So you need a lot more vitamin C to overwhelm and overcome that, the malabsorption issue that you're going to get. Vitamin C molecules are very similar in structure to carbohydrate molecules. And so it looks like it's sort of a fructose molecule with a little chain on it. And vitamin C does. And so they actually come in the same receptors, the GLUT4 receptor. And if you're eating, hundreds of grams of carbohydrates a day, and you're only getting in a couple of milligrams of vitamin C, a lot of that's getting blocked out. But you actually need far more vitamin C when you're eating carbohydrates, because you don't need much. It's a very small amount. And then even if you're not getting in much vitamin C from your diet, what do you need vitamin C for? We say, well, you're going to get scurvy. Okay, what's scurvy? It's a misdevelopment of collagen. Collagen is multiple chains of amino acids that sort of wrap around each other and bind internally to each other. Those different strands bind to each other and make very strong ropes, right? Braided rope sort of things. That's what they look like on their molecular structure. And if you don't have properly hydrolyzed amino acids called proline and lysine, then they won't have that tight internal bond. If they're not hydrolyzed, they'll sort of be pushing away from each other and repelling each other. And so that gives very weak collagen, which then starts breaking down tissue. Your arteries start to tear. You start to bleed from your gums internally. Your aorta can rupture, all these sorts of things. You die. It's very serious. So, you need vitamin C to it catalyzes a reaction, means it speeds up a reaction. You already do the reaction, but it will speed up the reaction to convert to hydrolyzed proline and lysine. So, and if you don't have enough proline and lysine, you won't make good quality collagen and you get scurvy. But if you're eating a lot of meat that has collagen and has hydrolyzed proline and lysine, you don't need vitamin C, do you? Because you already have the hydrolyzed proline and lysine, so you don't need it. If you're eating a lot of plant proteins, you're not getting a lot of animal proteins, and you're not getting the hydrolyzed form of proline and lysine, then sure, you need to hydrolyze that yourself. And you'll need vitamin C to help speed that up. Now you'll do that reaction anyway, but the vitamin C massively speeds up that reaction. So you can hit a bottleneck and run out, and not meet the demand if you don't have the vitamin C. But if you're just eating meat, you have it anyway, and you don't need the vitamin C. So it's a moot point. And anytime you have sort of a question about this, well, what about this nutrient or that, or isn't that going to do? Think of the Inuit. People talk about all these, Plains Indians, they drove buffalo herds over the cliffs and they just ate buffalo the whole year. It was, Native Americans, they ate this. You're talking about entirely different nations and different peoples on thousands of miles away on the continent. It's a continent away, but they conflate, what this civilization of Native Americans are doing with all 100 million Native Americans that were living throughout North America, before the 1600s. And there was a big plague around the early 1600s and wiped out like 95% of the people there. It doesn't seem to be an intentional one. It just seems to be something that, cross-contamination between, Europe and the Americas, and was very serious. But until then, you had people, all over the place, and 100 million plus maybe. And not every one of them, you're saying, well, these people ate this root and that people had this berry and these people made tea from this and that people did this. And you're saying Native Americans all did this. Like, that's just, that's just bad science, in large portion, large part, like the Native Americans in the Great Plains were just eating wild game and buffalo. So they scared a herd of buffalo over a cliff. They, processed those carcasses and dried the meat, mixed them with tallow. They had, pemmican. There was 2 to 1 grams of fat to protein. They ate that the entire year. They had food through the entire year. They had one big hunt a year, and they had food for the rest of the year. They had leisure time the rest of the year. You need agriculture to have leisure time to be able to philosophize and come up with. Really, they do one big hunt, and they don't eat. They don't have to, farm or do anything like for the rest of the year. They have nothing but leisure time after that. So, no, but and so they weren't eating plants and this, that, and the other. But it was, but they could have. They could have. Sure. Okay. They put berries in the pemmican. That was only for the pemmican they sold to white people because white people wanted things to be more sweet, but the ones they ate themselves did not typically have berries in them. And then again, so you just think of the Inuit because it just shuts these people up because it's like, doesn't matter what you say, when you're living up by the North Pole, there's nothing to eat except meat anyway. They had berries in it. So they had 2 lingonberries, for a week out of the year if they were living, south enough. But the people up north, no, they did not. There were no berries up on the ice floes. I'm sorry, there are no plants. It's just there's nothing growing there except meat. So, it's a lot easier to just say like, okay, well, what about the Inuit living up by the North Pole? What about our ancestors living in the Arctic Circle during the ice ages? We know that humans were living in the Arctic Circle during the ice ages. Where were they getting their vitamin C if not from meat? And if they needed more vitamin C than meat provided, they wouldn't have made it, would they? So just remember that.